You are listening to the Icehouse Podcast, hosting conversations with gritty Kiwi business owners and leaders and industry-leading minds.
Kia ora everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Icehouse Podcast. Hey, before we got into it, I did want to say we are absolutely thinking of those businesses, owners, leaders that have been affected by the recent cyclones and flooding in the Northland, Auckland, in Hawke's Bay and Napier and any surrounding areas. If there is anything we can do to help, please feel free to reach out. This week's episode of the Icehouse Podcast is with Miriama and Reuben Reid. They are the co-founders of the Cohorts. The Cohorts is a leading digital agency in New Zealand, crafting clever ways for brands to connect with people online. Miriama and Reuben are based in Tauranga, and so this was an in-person conversation about their business journey. They have been in business for 22 years, how they work together as a team, their strengths and weaknesses, what a day in the life of both of them look like, what the future looks like for them, and how they manage teams as well. They have a fully remote team, so how they actually manage and lead remote teams and keep that culture really strong. It's a really great episode. I know you'll get heaps out of it. Let's jump into the recording with them now. Hi everyone, welcome to the Icehouse Podcast. It's good to have you here. I am in Tauranga recording a podcast with Miriama and Reuben Reid. They are the co-founders of the Cohorts, and they are coaching alumni of our Icehouse Coaching offering, which is great. And it's good to record an in-person podcast as well down in the Bay. So nice to be doing that today. I like to start with a bit of quick fire. Is that cool with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
That's fine.
Miriama, I'll start with you. When are you most relaxed?
I would say I'm into my snorkeling. I grew up on the East Coast, Mahia Peninsula, so it tends to be on the reef and, out snorkeling and enjoying the environment, basically.
Awesome. Love that answer. And you live in a good place to do that sort of thing. What does a day in the life of you look like?
So due to various injuries and too many years in front of a screen and laptop, we have now gone to Pilates, so I've just sort of got into that. I like to start the day out with Pilates, good strong coffee, follow up on accounts, and then we tend to do a little bit of discussion about staff and planning and strategy. My hours are pretty relaxed, so I like to try and mix it up a wee bit with a bit of creative sort of to spend my day as well.
Awesome. I love that. Book or podcast you recommend?
Book, an old classic, I'd have to say The Bone People.
I know that one.
And so, yeah, it's just, it's very New Zealand, and the author, she was a very strong mana wāhine, so, yeah, something I've probably always held as one of my best reads.
Yeah. Awesome. Love to hear that. And what excites you most about 2023?
This is an interesting one. So we've just expanded the team, which I'm really grateful. That has been our greatest challenge, has been recruitment for the last couple of years. So we have a couple of very senior guys who have just recently expanded the team. So work-wise, it's new, larger team and all of that brings. And then in personal life, it's actually seeing where our oldest son develops. He's gone into a building course through school, at school, and it's really nice to see him find his passion,
I love that. That's cool. What about you, Reuben? When are you most relaxed?
Similar to Mids, actually. Fishing is my big kind of passion, so I get out on the ocean and enjoy rock fishing or fishing off a boat or off the kayak. Yeah. I also do a bit of free diving, so I enjoy that when I get a chance to do it. Mahia Peninsula, diving for crayfish, collecting seafood, crayfish power, fishing off the beach. It's good kind of downtime, so that's probably my most relaxed.
Cool, good for the soul.
Yeah, totally.
What does a day in the life of Reuben look like?
Generally start the day with a coffee. We go and do Pilates together, and then it's into the day. Sitting at the machine, looking at just a bit of planning to start with, and then touch base with the team. The whole team's a virtual team, so We don't have any, we live and work from home. We have an office in Auckland, so the rest of the time is touching base with everyone, organising things in the morning, and then plugging away at anything that's actually falling on my plate, and then just regular touch base. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and looking forward to diving a bit more into that remote, management and leading of teams in this conversation.
Right.
Book or podcast you recommend?
Book, Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yes.
Read that a while ago on one of my summer holidays, and it was just it was a really cool story, well written, and really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Cool.
So.
Nice. And what excites you most about 2023? Similar?
Similar to Mids. We're in the process of delivering quite a large project for one of our clients, so we're looking forward to we're just kind of in the starting phase of that, I suppose, and that's going to be quite a large job this year. So it's exciting to be getting our teeth into something quite hefty, and looking forward to kind of getting that to a point where it's becoming something other than an imagined idea.
Yeah, nice. See it in the wild. I like that. Yeah. Cool. I love starting with those quick fire. It helps me sort of, gauge context around you guys and how you live and what excites you. Further from that, would love to sort of hear the story of the Cohorts, how it came to be. What was the aha moment?
So I'll take that one.
Yeah, perfect.
We were in advertising. Back then it was a very heavily male dominated industry, particularly in larger agencies. So in all fairness, I just sort of got fed up and decided to step out and start our own business. Back then, a lot of the women that I worked with were very inspirational in business. I worked with Kim Crawford Wines, with Erica Crawford. I did the branding for Art Regional Council Trust, which was the formation up in Auckland. So we had Henimore Aldo as the chair. So I was lucky enough to be surrounded by a strong woman-led mentality in business, leaders in business. And then also I worked for the Manukau. One of my earlier clients was Manukau City Council and the arts programs.
Great.
And of course Parenting with Confidence. So I did their magazine, their publications, their books. And again, just a fantastic group of people who are very inspired and making a change. So having come from quite a disposable, I guess, advertising campaigns and PR background and all of that, to go into clients like that, I loved it.
With that purpose element and driving impact in community. Yeah, that's cool. And so you're up in Auckland at this point?
Yes, we were, and Rube joined me about a year later.
Awesome.
We grew, and then we were working with subcontractors, but we started to take people on in a more permanent role when I was pregnant with our first. So that was 17 years ago.
Wow, very cool. And Reuben, what were you doing before you came on at the Cohorts?
Well, Mids and I were working as a creative and digital team for agencies, and so I was carrying on doing digital work with the agency I was working with at the time. And then stepped out and joined her. It took a little while to build up the digital side of the business because she was predominantly print and design and brand type work. And so spent a good period of time kind of building that up, and we ended up becoming kind of a contracting team into the agencies when they had spillover for digital and creative. As well as obviously servicing our own clients, own direct clients.
Cool, that's great. And, a big question, but for you guys, what does that sense of purpose look like, or what's a motivation to get out of bed in the morning?
I think it's just being inspired. I love the biggest thing about the range of clients that we work with and across all the industries is the stories and the people and the entrepreneurs behind a lot of those businesses. And I think especially through recent times we've seen resilience. And when you're feeling exhausted, all you have to do is think about, especially after that lockdown, what some of our major clients went through. you know, and they inspire you to kind of think, well, you know, really, let's just get on with it. And it's just, yeah, I love the people stories behind who we work with.
Yeah, that's very cool. Would that be similar to you, Reuben?
Yeah, similar. It's a lot about the diversity of clients and the diversity of people that we get to kind of work with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of, predominantly client-facing type work. So for me, it's about those relationships and maintaining good relationships and being a clear communicator and managing client expectations and managing the team on the flip side of that, and making sure the two kind of don't disconnect.
Yeah.
And ensuring, you know, that that things go smoothly. But yeah, really for me, it's what gets me out of bed in the morning is that the diversity and the client relationships. Really, you know, I find that quite inspiring and quite cool on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, all about the people, eh? That's
Yeah.
very cool. I like that. You know, started the business 16 years ago, or
22
years ago. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Congratulations, guys. That's
a little
amazing.
while.
A little while ago. What's been one of those key learnings from building this business? Maybe something you'd tell yourselves at the start of the journey, you know, if you could go back in time.
I would say it is not to marinate too long on some of the harder decisions, you know.
I like that.
You carry your heart on your sleeve and you want to make sure that you're looking after your team, but sometimes you just sort of need to be able to, I think, not navel gaze so much, you know, just sort of be confident in your decision and see it through. And yeah.
Sometimes delaying hard decisions in business can be can be costly and can be problematic. So the sooner those are made, the better. If you've got a clear path for it, then go ahead and make the decision.
Yeah. We have a small team and we need to make sure that they're happy.
Yeah, that's so important. Yeah, cool. How do you guys celebrate success? What does that look like for you over the 22-year journey?
I'm very good at making sure and have been really conscious of that right from the beginning. So
Great, I love
we
that.
would do things like, particularly when you work from home, we like to get out and do nice dinners. We're foodies. We like to go out and, I don't know, do a walk, do a picnic, go camping.
Awesome.
You know, just it's kind of special and special time for us to have that time out and just sort of refresh. Since we've had kids, it's also making sure that it's family time, you know. So when we go to Mahia, we lose coverage at the top hill before we drop down onto our beach. So it's probably the one place in the world we're just completely out, and it's great. Yeah.
Has this, you know, I feel like you guys have a really natural sense of balance and just like a great rhythm with owning businesses and doing what you guys are doing. Has this been a learnt skill for you guys, or was this a priority from the beginning on we need to balance life and work well?
I think back when we were in advertising, you know, it was nothing to go 3 days without sleep and all-nighters to walk into a pitch, and it was certainly a burnout industry, you know. I mean, I completely remember one campaign, we won the pitch, but along with that, Rube was hallucinating because he was 3 days down without sleep, you know. Wow. So, and it was just what we did back then.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of, it was a short time that we were in agency life, but we looked at that and thought, you know, we're missing out on too much. And I think now at our age, you know, we're losing friends and stuff already at our age, and that just kind of puts it back into focus of you've got to live now as well. It can't all be about the job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, why put off something you can do today?
Absolutely, like I think that's so important. Did you guys have remote teams from the start, or like before COVID? Sorry, or
yeah, we've tried both sides of the fence. When we were probably about 10 years into business, we tried to have the team under the one roof in the studio with us plus subbies, but it was very limited. And I guess for location where we were living at the time, and technology wasn't as advanced as it is now. So now, after we tried that and we decided that actually, no, we needed to bring in the senior team, and so we reached further afield and we looked at our contractors, and it was working better with them. So we kind of restructured the business a wee bit, didn't we, about halfway through?
We moved from an employee model back to a contractor model, and that's proved to be really beneficial in lots of different ways. Probably one of the main ones being our own sanity, not having to, handle
We haven't got
handle
the
or
HR.
deal with HR kind of stuff. You know, it's they're independent, they're senior, they're dedicated to doing the work you're engaging them on, and they're available. And if they can meet those things and communicate well,
They run their own hours.
You know, they get
Yeah.
work-life balance, and we get really good long-term commitment out of people, because they've got good income coming out of us. You know,
Yeah.
I think we're lucky at the moment. We've got a bit of a golden team. We've certainly had our challenges through the years, and we're in a season of love our team to bits. Our business is only as good as our team, and we're lucky. We've got some who have been with us for over a decade, and they're brilliant.
That's
yeah,
cool.
it's awesome.
Cool to hear. Have you had points where you're like, okay, this culture needs a rework? And if so, what is something you've done to rework that culture in that moment?
I think our biggest rework was about halfway through, after about the 10-year mark. Since then, it is really, we were just saying, we got the team together on Friday, we're all up in Auckland for lunch, and we were saying, we're lucky if that's once a year. And as we were driving back, we said, we really need to make this a bit more often. We love catching up with them, and you just sort of have those important conversations about, home life and family life and what's going on, and connect
You
face to face.
connect more on a personal level, because it's not, you're catching up, and it's not about work, which more often than not, you've booked in a time, you're doing a group video, and it's a weekly whip or whatever, and I try and take the first kind of 10 minutes to ask each team member, there might be 6 of us on the call, and ask each team member how their weekend was or something, and get a little bit of informal out of that, but there's still, you're still aware that you've got everyone there, and you still need to move on to talking about work.
Totally.
So that personal kind of catch up and enjoying time face to face with them all is really important. We'd like to kind of do that a little bit more. I think it's something on the cards going forwards. The team is so diverse as well. It's quite. I think one of the really neat things about having a virtual team that live and work from their own spaces is they can set their own hours, they can set their own music, they can set their own groove.
Totally.
But on the flip side of that, they're probably missing a little bit of face to face and collaboration and social. So you've got to kind of make sure you get that as well to help to balance it up. But for the most part, I reckon it works really well. It's a good model.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's very cool. Obviously, you guys work together and are married. How is that dynamic for you guys? I'm sure that's been a journey of working out what works for each person. Would you have any advice for, younger couples getting into business together?
I think you can't hold on to grudges for too long. You've got to get on with it. Find your strengths and make sure that your strengths and weaknesses are complementary in business, and rather than sort of working on the same area of a project together. I've found, and more so over the years, but back in the beginning we overlapped a wee bit, and we had to sort of define those lines and actually work better in that sense. And then as we've brought team members in again, it's probably more so been my role that has been redefined, because I wanted time out to spend with the kids as well. Not time out, but flexibility.
Yeah.
So I stepped away from the client facing. And Rube has got really strong at that. And then you see it work. Like the same rule really that works for us works for our team, is everybody has their own definition, and lines are drawn, and they're complementary and senior in what they do as well. Yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Reuben? Any advice for those going into business together?
I I think just clear communication and make sure that you're, as Mids has said, make sure that your role is kind of reasonably clearly defined, because where the issues come is where you've got kind of crossover and one person is thinking one thing and another person's thinking another. If you make sure you talk about what you're deciding in business and the things you're going about doing on a day to day, and have got an agreed kind of path for that, then it's pretty good. I think too, making sure that you take time out, especially working from home, and taking time for yourself and being able to kind of get out and, for me it's going for a fish or going and doing something with my family, or whatever those things are, to just help to give each other our own space as well, because and often that's doing stuff together on the weekends, but it's leaving that home space too. You've got to kind of get out and make sure you go and do social stuff as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. No, that's cool. Going back to the managing of remote teams, for a lot of people this is fairly new. Obviously, we've done it with COVID, but is there any advice that you guys have for those that are managing people in multiple locations, even to the point of tools or things that just make things more productive or work smoother?
I'll let Rube take this one.
Well, during about with COVID,
yes,
I was twiddling my thumbs because I was locked in the spare bedroom, and I'd been meaning to do it for a long time. We were using 3 separate systems for invoicing, project management, and another one for something else, and I decided that I was going to fix this problem, so I spent a lot of time investigating online various project management tools and invoicing systems, and basically just consolidated 3 systems into one.
Awesome.
So we use a platform called Productive. It may not be suitable for everyone, but it's kind of like a combination of Workflow Max, Active Collab or Basecamp, any of those project management tools. So it's quite powerful in the way that it handles tasks and projects and assigning those to team members and having client access as well to see budgets if you want them to see budgets, etc.
Yeah.
And also integrates with Xero. So that tool has made the team's life a whole lot easier. They're not working between 3 separate systems. We've got fairly clear visibility around tasks and timelines and Gantt charts, etc. on what's happening. So it's kind of our single kind of go-to for where we're spending most of our days working and logging time. So yeah.
That would have been a great feeling when it all came together. You're like,
it was. Yeah.
Those projects are big to roll out across a company that hasn't done it before like that.
Yeah, well, it took me about a week. So it was pretty much the whole time I was in isolation in the spare room was.
I think it was because it was a unique time for you to have just a singular focus.
Yeah, true.
So it was a great time to overhaul a business system.
Yeah.
It was not actually. It was having time at night. Basically, it was the out of hours time that wasn't the working day.
Yes, of course.
Where I could, because Mids wasn't, we weren't talking and I wasn't hanging out with the kids. It was just like you're in the spare room. You'd occasionally get a bowl of food sent through
at
the door.
Classic. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh no, that's good. I like that. The sort of white space, of being able to have that creativity time is so important.
Yeah, totally. So
for sure.
Yeah, it was good.
On that note of creativity, where do you guys land in that? Are you more of the, obviously managing and leading the teams, but also some creative direction in there as well? Or is that now handed off to some of your team?
We do a bit of a baseline discussion before and working out which designer we're working with, if it comes with branding and everything first and strategy and planning. So we don't necessarily delve in the creative anymore. It's more about which designer we're working with, who, complements this kind of client and what that connection is. Traditionally, my background was design, but I, stepped away from that, and it has been great to be able to not just, because we're working with a team of contractors, rather than just sort of working to the 1 or 2 designers in-house, we have a broader pool, and depending on what style and, you know, level of client and just how in-depth it is. So
you can trust the team.
Yeah. And we're lucky enough again to, one of the brand strategists that we work with, I originally trained with. He and I were flatties, so we go back a long way.
Cool.
And so we've got all sorts, and some more recent designers that we've been working with for the last few years. One in particular, it's really nice to have a woman on the team. She's brilliant. She's amazing.
Great.
I think for us it's more about the team. So it's putting together and handpicking the team to suit the project and suit the client and suit the budget. And obviously we understand the client and what their needs are. We specify the scope of work and the project and what the costs are and who's going to be working on it, and we pull it all together. But we're the qualitative and quality kind of check as well before it goes back to the client. So more often than not, there'll be quite a feedback loop where we'll be not, commenting on and feeding back on the work that's been produced before it hits the client's desk, and make sure that's lifted from both a creative and a technical point of view, so it meets the needs that we've got on the project. And
brilliant. No, that makes complete sense. Just how that you have a passion for sort of women perspectives and having women within businesses, having that diversity is quite a key element. Do you mind sort of unpacking what that means to you and why that's important?
I think it was very much brought up by a feminist mother, had some very influential aunties, and I say that with a bit of an East Coast description of aunties. But they just... I guess we were a matriarchal family, really. And so you want to make sure that the woman's kind of approach to business, I think, can be quite a bit more caring and a little bit more all-encompassing rather than just a sort of a straight-out, what's the profit line looking like? And there's, both sides... while I'm saying this, just about our entire team are men, but it is looking at having come from those days of where the glass ceiling was very obvious, and just sort of attitudes more of a generation above us, I think, towards women in business. It was really important to make sure that those stepping stones are there and they're acknowledged, and that's brought to the forefront of business. And so I think, these days, because I'm not client facing, I get quite excited when, particularly in startup or in some of, I'm thinking of one woman in particular that we're working with at the moment. We've worked with her for a long time and watching her career track. She is amazing. Cool. She's very determined, and she's really focused, it's those kind of personalities that I love to see going through on the client front and where they're going with business and what they're doing. I think going back to a family point of view, and where my sister we both trained as designers, and she has ended up on quite a few boards. She works more on our Māori side of things, and she's very much a person who opens that door but then gets as many people as she can through that door as well. And that often inspires me, watching that kind of scenario as well. It is I think we went in very different directions, but it's really nice to see she is a change maker. Yeah, great. And so I'm lucky enough, in outside of family, my support crew is a wonderful bunch of women, a bunch of girlfriends. We all just caught up on Saturday night. We're all career-driven women, but also all very supportive and full of advice. So we try to get away once a year, and during those weekends, there's been resignation letters written, there's been careers changed, there's been businesses started. Yeah, so great. Yeah, I think it's that kind of network that just keeps you rolling as well.
Yeah, it's that community of like-minded people championing each other, empowering each other, And it's just really cool to hear through your answers that natural passion for, cultural and diversity in general. Very cool. Changing gears a little bit, would love to hear about the Icehouse journey for you guys and how you heard about the Icehouse and coaching specifically.
So that was me. The Icehouse has just been around forever. So it's such a known brand. Our biggest thing with Craig was wanting to, I guess the biggest concern was I wanted a coach who could work with our industry, who had the experience in our industry and the digital side of things.
Yes.
I didn't want it to be as generic as what some coaching can be.
Yep.
Basically just sat down with Rube and said, look, I want to bring an advisor in. Years ago we used to have an advisory board and we haven't had that for about the last decade, and I sort of felt like we are probably, we're past the halfway mark in our career, and we sort of needed to look at where to from here, and and how does the cohorts look in 10 years, and what does it mean for us, and are we working our way towards a board, or what are we doing? And so we just kind of needed that outside head, and especially we've been very slack. We kind of talk at him. And then he tries to book another appointment with us, and when we're faffing around, and so it takes us a bit to sort of get back to him. Having said that, I think there's another email that's been sitting in my inbox for a good couple of weeks. So it's actually just really nice having an objective voice in the mix.
Of course.
So we enjoy his insights and his experience. It's at a different level to us, and having someone with that history, applying their understanding and knowledge of structure and process when we're wanting to kind of work out what the next 10 or 15 years looks like for the cohorts, is invaluable. So we're really enjoying working with him to go through that process, and look forward to continuing to work with him on it.
Great. Did you have any hesitations, Reuben, when coaching was presented to you as a next step or advisory, or for you was that quite a natural yes? No,
we've done it before, so there's no real hesitation. It's just, I suppose it's when we hit a point where we feel like we're out of our depth, engaging people that have got that experience and knowledge in the areas that we don't is just a logical step. Surrounding yourself with people that know the space that you're trying to step into, or know the process to get to an end goal, and engaging that knowledge and support in business is something that I think any successful business person does.
For sure.
So no,
that makes sense. Any key takeaways for you guys that you have gone and implemented from your discussions with him, and how does the arrangement, how has it worked for you guys? Has it been a once a month thing, once a week, little stints, big sessions?
We're quite random as to when we book with him. It's just, we've got to get right, let's book with him.
Yeah, cool.
I think the biggest thing, especially at the last session, was venting our frustrations in a couple of ways that a brand wasn't necessarily being protected in a working approach from the client side. And out of that resulted in a meeting, and hey, let's just talk about this, and it was concern from almost a kind of a brand guardian kind of level, just to make sure that all of that work and everything didn't get watered down as too many people came into the mix. And so I think it's just really kind of a sounding board, isn't it, to throw our ideas.
You've got two things that are happening. One is that regular touch base, it's generally at the moment, because we went through school holidays and away on et cetera, we're going to get back into it again now, but I think it's probably between once a month to once every 2 months that we're doing a catch up with Craig.
Cool.
And you get the on one hand you've got the long term picture that you're looking at and long-term kind of planning, and so plugging away at that, making sure that we're regularly touching base on that and getting that plan in place to a point where there's actionable items and actionable things out of that we've got to carry out and put in place. And the other thing is the ad hoc stuff that comes up in the day-to-day operations of the business. You know, he'll be like, oh, so, you know, how has this month been for you? And we'll be talking about, you know, certain projects or issues that we've had or things we're encountering or seeing in the business. And he'll just be lending independent advice to how to deal with some of that stuff. And from that are some immediately actionable things that will go away and do something about, you know. So just having that senior ear to kind of bounce things off and ask, oh, you know, what would you do in this situation, or how would you handle that, or how would you protect this equation for the business, you know, is invaluable.
What is next for you both, personally and for the business? What does the next few years look like in your guys' minds?
I think the next few years for us is I would like to see currently kind of looking more on the digital marketing side to add more strength to. We already have one person, but I'd like to add more to the team in that. And I think personal wise, it is our daughter is, a lot of our timelines, you'll notice, are based on our family life.
I love that.
Our daughter is year 10. When she gets through high school, because our son hopes to look for a builder's apprenticeship at the end of this year, but when she gets through high school, we would like to spend more time down on my land, and so that means that thanks to Starlink, we should be able to get a connection down the bottom of the farm and split our year going back and forth. Coming down to Tauranga a couple of years ago was because of Rube's family, and that's been wonderful, and especially for our children as well. And so for me, it's having a bit more time back at my home as well, because it's a very remote spot, so that comes with its challenges, but technology, I think, has finally caught up that we will be able to do that in the next few years, so I can see a lot of planning time on my behalf of getting something down onto the point.
That's very special.
Either a little tiny home or a batch or something down there that we can go and do kind of a 3 to 4 month stint over our new summer, maybe. So it might not be the current summer.
April, May. Great.
It's still the type of place, as long as we can get out to the likes of Gisborne or Hawke's Bay, you can fly back up to the office in Auckland. So, I mean, we're lucky with that flexibility of working online. You know, having said that, one of our main projects is coming out of Hawke's Bay at the moment.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for jumping on the Icehouse podcast and for being part of the wider network and ecosystem of business owners. I moved down to Tauranga at the end of 2021, and I've been blown away with just the different local conversations I've been able to have. So it's been great to add this one to that as well. So I appreciate your guys' time.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks heaps, Bryar. It's been great.